Okay, so today we are diving into something truly wild. It's a theory that takes one of the most famous stories ever told, the Exodus, and flips it completely on its head. The idea? That the Exodus isn't history at all, but a secret coded manual for our own biology. So let's start with the big question, the one that kicks this whole thing off. A lot of historians argue that the biblical Exodus, as a literal event, probably didn't happen. So, if that's true, why was it written? What is this incredibly powerful story really trying to tell us? Well, the theory we're looking at today says the Exodus isn't history, it's a mythological roadmap. It's a symbolic story, not about something that did happen way back when, but about something that must happen inside each and every one of us. And here's the core idea. The entire story, from Moses in the desert to crossing the Red Sea, is actually an allegorical guide. Think of it like a set of instructions for a massive biological event, the actual correction of our own DNA, which, if this is right, could unlock a totally new kind of human consciousness. So, how in the world do you even begin to decode something like that? Well, the first step in this whole interpretation is to see the human body as a map, where all the biblical places and people are just symbols for our own anatomy. Let's see how this map gets laid out. The key, the thing that unlocks this entire map, actually comes from the Eastern concept of Kundalini. Now, this is described as this coiled-up electrical energy that, when it's awakened, travels up your spine through 7 energy centers, or chakras, and culminates right in the pineal gland in your brain. This idea of internal electrical energy is the absolute key to cracking the rest of the code.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the theory connects that idea directly to the Bible. The book of Revelation talks about a book seen in the right hand that's written on the backside and is sealed with 7 seals. According to this interpretation, the right hand is the right hemisphere of your brain. The backside is your spine. And those 7 seals, well, those are the 7 chakras.
And then you see the exact same pattern with the story of Moses. His journey perfectly mirrors this internal one. So the 7 daughters he meets, they represent the 7 chakras. The mountain of God on the backside of the desert, that's the spine. And the famous burning bush, that symbolizes the pineal gland, totally activated and on fire with energy. Okay, so once we have that body map in our heads, we can start to tackle the main event of the whole Exodus story. To get this supposed DNA connection, we have to crack the code that's hidden inside the instructions for the very first Passover. The original text gives 2 really specific, and let's be honest, pretty strange conditions that had to be met for the Israelites to be passed over and freed. Do you remember what they were? Okay, here they are, the 2 rules. First, the firstborn of their captors must die. And second, every single trace of leaven, the yeast that makes bread rise, has to be completely cleaned out of every house. Now, on the surface, these just sound like strange ancient rituals. But what if they're not meant to be literal at all? The theory here is that these aren't historical commands, but a biochemical formula hidden in plain sight. And you unlock it by looking at the original Greek roots of 2 very important words. Okay, here's the first part of the code. The word protein, it actually comes from the Greek word proteos, which literally means first or primary. So could that strange command to sacrifice the firstborn actually be a coded reference to protein? Now, get ready for the second part, because this one is even more direct. The word enzyme. It comes from the Greek word enzymos, which means, you guessed it, leavened. The root word for enzyme literally is leaven. So that command to clean out the leaven points straight to enzymes. And right there, that's the big aha moment. You put the 2 decoded rules together, and what do you get? Protein, enzyme. And what is the biological job of protein enzymes? They are the literal substance in our bodies responsible for repairing and correcting damaged DNA. Suddenly, the code is unlocked. So the code points right to our biology, but the theory doesn't stop there. It then zooms way out, from our bodies all the way into the cosmos. This takes us right to the climax of the story, the moment of escape, of literally passing over to freedom, the parting of the Red Sea. According to this theory, this isn't a miracle about water at all. It's a perfect metaphor for the microscopic process of genetic repair. Just think about how DNA actually gets repaired. First, an enzyme opens the distorted double helix. It parts the C. Second, a new correct sequence gets copied in, which allows for a crossing over to a healed state.
And finally, the strand is closed up again. I mean, the parallel is pretty incredible.
But hold on, a biological event that massive would need some kind of trigger, right? So where does the energy for all this come from? The theory points up, to the heavens, and specifically to this massive, super volatile star called Eta Carina. The author actually identifies this star as the seventh angel mentioned in Revelation, the one who's supposed to reveal the mystery of God.
Now, I know what you're thinking. The idea of energy from a star influencing our DNA, it sounds like total science fiction. But listen to this quote from Science News. It says, the question isn't if DNA can conduct electricity anymore, but how well it can. This shows us that DNA can act like a tiny biological wire, which at least opens the door to the idea that it could be influenced by some kind of external electrical force.
So let's pull all these threads together. What does this all mean? Are we really talking about some kind of Passover to new DNA?
So here it is, the whole theory in a nutshell. The Exodus story isn't about ancient history, but a map for an event that happens inside you. The Passover ritual isn't a ritual, it's a coded recipe, protein enzyme, for fixing our DNA. That repair process is symbolized by the miracle of the Red Sea, and the whole shebang is kicked off by a massive blast of cosmic energy from the star Eta Carina.
I mean, it is a wild and really provocative theory, right? It connects ancient spirituality with modern biology in a way that almost no one has ever considered. And it leaves us with this one final, totally mind-bending question. What if our most sacred stories aren't just tales about the past, but are actually a hidden user's manual for the future of our own species?